You good, Lauren?
Got it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So why don't you guys just introduce yourselves, and then you can start with, just what you want to kind of tell the athletes out there.
Perfect. All right, I'll start if that's all right, Lauren. I am Reid Delman, the race director, the owner and operator for Gemini Adventures, and Kyla is my partner in crime, and she is not here right now, but we were both on the course this weekend, so I'm super excited to talk about it. And we are going to be talking about the Dirty Edge gravel. So, Lauren?
Great. And I am Lauren Constantini. Been good friends with Reid and Kyla for years. Love what they're doing. Currently, I have a business called Confluence Coach, which is nutrition, fitness, and sleep coaching. I was formerly in the biotech world, PhD is in neuroscience, and I've been a professional bike racer way, way, way long ago. Now I just do it for fun, but I've got that perspective, and I'm excited to tell you all a little bit about how to tweak your nutrition for the races, for this race and any other races you're doing this summer.
Right. Yeah, and don't let Lauren fool you. She's still very competitive. She still does very well on the bike. Yeah. So the Dirty Edge gravel is a 50K gravel race, and it's got 2,700 feet of climbing. And as I said, we were just out on the course this weekend, so I'm really excited to talk about it. It's spring, so the course will be changing, every day. It got some pretty good rain this past weekend, and things are starting to settle down. Some of it is on dirt, and some of it is gravel, but even the dirt is two-wheel drive road, so it should all be good. It was a little bit messed up this past weekend from the mud, but yeah, like I said, it's all calming down, and the views are amazing. The views of the Book Cliffs. If you've ever been out to the North Fruita Desert, 18 Road, it's a beautiful area, and we're excited to have some gravel riding out there. We have a mountain bike race out there also, and a half marathon running race, but this is our big debut into the gravel world.
And you created the track, right, for the Fruita half. You can find that on Trail Run Project, I think.
Yep. The half marathon is there. The mountain bike race is on Mountain Bike Project. It's called the Sarlacc Attack, and the gravel is on Ride with GPS. So you can find all the tracks there.
And how technical? Can you talk about how technical the trail is?
Yep, for sure. It's some pretty good rollers. So you have short ups and downs, and I think especially once it dries out, it's not going to be that technical. The dirt could be a little bit technical. Once you get on the gravel, it's all good. Most of the technical, and when I say technical, it's very minimal. But that would be in the first 10 miles. So the first third of it, it's about as technical as it gets. So once you get through that, you're home free after the first 10 miles.
So when you say the first 10 miles, is it rocky and single track, or is it
no.
Because it's bumpy? What do you mean by technical in the first 10 miles?
It's a little bumpy, and it depends on the conditions. Like I said, it's because it's the dirt versus the gravel, but it's still two-wheel drive road. Some of it could be a little bit loose, a little bit sandy, not a whole lot of rocks, but you might have to find your way between some ruts. I think would be the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
You may have to
Okay.
get your way through some ruts.
And what size tire would you recommend? Like in the 35 or the 40 or even the 45 or 50 millimeter?
I'd say more like 40 to 45. You know, just because you're going to have to navigate it a little bit in that first third of the race. The second, after mile 10, you could go thinner than that, but I would go a little bit wider to start with, to help you get through that. Yeah.
So how many miles would you say you'll be on single track versus dirt road?
So there's no single track.
Okay.
This is beautiful dirt road, 2-wheel drive dirt road.
So this is for the gravel ride you're talking about.
Yep.
Got it. Okay. I was kind of curious about the Sarlacc.
Sarlacc. There's a good bit of single track in the Sarlacc. Yeah. And that for sure is technical. So we have both sides. I know a lot of people. We have a fair number of people that are doing both the Sarlacc and the Dirty Edge, the mountain bike and the gravel, because the mountain bike is on Saturday and the gravel is on Sunday. So they'll get the technical on Saturday and they'll get the just cranking on Sunday for the gravel. The second half is it's pretty close to champagne gravel. It's good stuff on the second half of the course of the Dirty Edge. The first half, just have to pick your way a little bit more. Pay attention. Ride with your eyes open, as I like to say.
Are there any long sustained climbs on the gravel course?
No long sustained climbs.
Right.
So there is an out and back, and it continues to climb for, I think it's about 5 miles, something like that. But it's not, it kind of rolls up. It's not a steep sustained climb. There is a short, pretty substantial climb up to the turnaround point, but that's like maybe a quarter of a mile, something like that. So you'll be working your way up gradually, and then you have that short, steep climb up to the aid station at let me see, it's mile 19.5. 19.5, yeah. So, and then it's easy going, just rolling downhill. Now, none of it is easy. It's a lot of rollers, so it'll keep you moving.
You want to talk a little bit about the aid stations, like when they come, how many, and what's going to be at them?
Yeah. So there's you'll go 5 miles out and you'll hit the first aid station, and that'll take you into a loop, and you hit the same aid station at mile 13.
Perfect.
Yeah. So and first half of that loop is where the technical stuff starts to get easier. So you just just take it easy back to the aid station, and that's at 13 miles. Then you'll hit the out and back from that aid station, and you'll hit an aid station at the end of the out and back at 19.5. And then you'll bring it into mile 32. So at the aid stations, does that make sense?
So 5, 13, and 20 are where the aid stations are?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. You'll actually go past the loop aid station again as you're heading back, but it's mostly downhill, and it's just there incidentally because it's there for the loop.
Okay.
And what kind of gear do you suggest bikers be carrying with them, and what will be provided at the aid stations?
So the aid stations, let me take a look. So we always have something sweet, like Skittles, M&Ms, something along those lines. Something salty, potato chips or pretzels, something along those lines. We'll also have Hammer Gel, and the sports drink this year is LMNT. element. So if you're not familiar with that, that's it's a lot of electrolytes. It's very, I think it's very tasty and very good with electrolytes. It's not a calorie drink. So you have to make sure that you're bringing your calories that you're going to need if those other things don't work for you. We'll also have peanut butter and jelly rolls at the aid stations. And then Kate's Real Food bars. We'll have those at the aid stations too. So we'll have some pretty good snacking food. But again, you need to be aware that the drink doesn't have calories, but it's very good with electrolytes.
And for like pumps, multi-tools, things like that, that should be something that every biker should be carrying, right? We won't have pumps provided at the aid stations.
Right. We'll have a stand at the start, and and some basic tools, but anything else that you need, you should be bringing it yourself. Yeah.
Awesome.
Any maintenance. Yeah.
Cool.
What else? So it'll start at 9 a.m. On Sunday. We have a half marathon going the same day. They go in a different direction, but there will be some good activity at the start line. We also have on Saturday, we have the clinic and the pre-ride, which Lauren could talk about. But those festivities will kind of get mixed in with the Sarlacc attack. So as those people are finishing up, there will be a party going on there, hot food and upslope beer. Yeah, it'll be a fun finish line. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, it's going to be a ton of fun. Lauren, yeah, if you could talk about what that group ride will be looking like on Saturday, and then maybe you can go into just kind of like some tips and tricks for the racers out there.
Yeah, sure. So Saturday at 10 a.m. we have a women's gravel clinic where I'm going to be teaching some skills on cornering and descending and climbing and how to ride through sand and all those things that we always end up doing when we're gravel racing or riding, and just points that will give you more confidence when you're out there. Really, we all know how to sort of do those things, but there's a few little tips and tricks and hacks that I can show you that'll help you do them a little bit faster and maybe with a little bit more confidence. So I like to take people just out on the course to do that. I'm not really a let's set up some cones in a parking lot type of coach. So we'll be actively going out there and sort of finding some of those places that have maybe some sand and some rocks, and we'll be able to session some of that stuff right on the race course. So when you get to that spot on the race course, you'll know what to do. And then at 11, we are going to have a shakeout ride, which will be a little bit of the course. We're not going to get your legs too tired for the next day, but shakeout ride is always good to do the day before an event so that you kind of, I once had a coach who said, you just want to singe the muscles the day before your race. So we'll do a couple little efforts, but a lot of it is just be social, meet some people, check out the course, the beginning and the end. I'll be out there the next couple of weeks to figure out exactly where we're going to have that little pre-ride, but it'll be more fun than anything. But it's always good to just see part of the course too, so you have that in your head. So those are the two rides that are going to happen on Saturday. And then, yeah, after the pre-ride, we come back and we join the party with the Sarlacc people.
Well, it sounds fun. I wish I could do the pre-ride with you guys. I'll be working.
And then as far as nutrition, gosh, I could talk for hours on sports nutrition, but I guess there's only 3 things that I would say are take-home messages. One is to eat every half hour. So if you've got to even set an alert on your Garmin or your Wahoo, Garmin's and Wahoo's both have the ability to set an alert that every 15 or half hour, you can tell it to bring up a little alert that says, don't forget to eat or don't forget to drink. So you can actually have that in there if you have trouble remembering. But especially in a race like this, when, there's a lot going on, you're thinking about all the people around you, you're navigating the course, you're looking at the map. it's really important to start eating, right away within the first half hour, and then put something in your mouth every half hour and drink something every half hour. So that's the one thing, every half hour. Two, you should be drinking 1 bottle per hour. So think about that when you're thinking about your aid station strategy. Usually I like to have 2 bottles on the bike. Sometimes I'll even put a third bottle in my back pocket if I don't want to stop at the first aid station, if I'm feeling competitive, which is not always the case. But so 1 bottle every hour. So if you get to the end of that first hour of racing and you look down and you haven't drank anything, that's probably going to be not the greatest strategy. So just sip on your bottles as often as you can, and you should be finished 1 whole bottle within an hour. Within the first hour. So third, what should be in those bottles and what should you be eating every half hour? So the latest science out there is that during a race, we should be eating 80 to 100 grams of carbohydrates per hour. So we're no longer looking at calories, because calories can include protein and fat. The latest science is showing it's the carbohydrates that we have to focus on. So 80 to 100 grams of carbohydrates is actually a lot. It's a lot more than we used to eat when we would say 200 calories an hour, like a Cliff Bar or something like that. So the way that our stomachs are now able to handle that higher amount of carbohydrates is most of the more contemporary products out there have a mix of glucose and fructose. So those actually, I won't get into the nitty gritty science, but they work on 2 different transporter systems in your GI tract. So you no longer really get nauseous. Remember years ago, we would drink these sugary drinks and eat all these bars, and we would just start getting nauseous because it was so much sugar. Well, now these new products are being blended in a way where they have 2 different types of sugar, sometimes 3, and they work on different transporters in your stomach so that you really don't get nauseous, at least not as much as we used to. You definitely have to try some of the products out there and see which works for you. But it's pretty amazing. It's easy to get 80 to 100 grams of carbohydrates per hour into your body nowadays. Some of my favorite products are the Science in Sports, the SIS Beta Fuel, which has something like 80 grams in 1 packet, and you put that whole packet in your water bottle, and you can drink that as your 1 bottle per hour. So that takes care of your drink and your food carbohydrates. Tailwind has a similar type of product that has a lot of carbohydrates in just 1 bottle. And Scratch Ultra Fuel, I think they actually changed the name of that recently, but Scratch Labs has a very high carbohydrate bottle liquid fuel that you can use also. And I think that has a little bit less than 80 grams of carbs, but still a lot. And so if your drink has maybe 50 grams of carbs or 60, then you want to supplement that with your gels or a bar or your chews. But what I encourage everyone to do is the day before your event or your ride, because you want to practice all of this during your rides too, lay all your ride food out on your kitchen counter and just flip it over and look at the labels and just look at the carbohydrates, not the sugars or anything, but look at the total carbohydrates and put them in little piles. Okay, here's a pile of 80 grams. Here's a pile of 100 grams. Here's a pile of bars with, 80 grams. And just put those in your pockets in a way where you'll be able to eat everything out of that pocket in an hour and not have to think about it when you're actually out there on the ride. So lay it all out on the counter the night before, just so you have an idea of what you're going to eat each hour to get to that 80 to 100 grams of carbs. And I guarantee when you get to the end of that race, you're going to be like, wow, I'm not as tired and I'm not famished. When I started doing this just for training rides, I used to come home from a big ride and clean out the refrigerator. That's not healthy. But now I come home from my rides and I'm not as famished if I'm doing this 80 to 100 grams of carbs per hour while I'm on the ride. So then you just are healthier when you get home too. So eat or drink every half hour, drink 1 bottle per hour, and try to get 80 to 100 grams of carbs per hour during the course of the race. I love the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches at the aid stations. If you're dying for some salt, for sure, grab those potato chips. If you're dying for a sugar burst, grab a handful of Skittles. The M&Ms, I mean, I love M&Ms, but you really don't want a lot of dairy in your throat and your stomach when you're racing. If you're just chilling with your friends and you're just going an easy pace and chatting, then grab those M&Ms for sure. But if you're kind of hitting it hard and going hard, the M&Ms are going to put a lot of phlegm in your throat and it makes it harder to breathe. And dairy is also pretty inflammatory. So you don't want to have too much dairy in your body. Most of the athletes that I work with are non-dairy at this point because dairy is just pretty inflammatory. But if you want to sort of prioritize what to eat at the aid stations, I'd say the PBJ for sure. The potato chips if you're dying for salt, the Skittles if you need a little burst of sugar. The LMNT, I just want to tell people that it is the highest amount of sodium of any electrolyte on the market. So be careful of that. You know, the number one rule in bike racing is don't try anything new on race day. So I know that I think there's going to be some samples in the swag bag. Is that right, Reid?
Yeah. So we're going to have samples in all the swag bags. It is pretty high in sodium. You're going to be obviously sweating quite a bit out there. So it's going to be important to replace those electrolytes. We've found that it's actually really awesome if we dilute it with water more than it recommends. So at the aid stations, we will be diluting it quite a bit. So you're not getting that 1,000 milligrams of sodium. We're going to keep it more at like 300.
Oh, perfect. I'm so happy to hear that. I'm so happy to hear that because I agree. The flavors that they have are amazing. They're so tasty. But I'm so glad to hear that you're actually diluting it because, people will have eye distress if for the first time they're drinking 1,000 grams of.
Yeah.
Okay. Really good to hear. And I encourage everyone with your swag bag samples to also dilute it. Don't follow the instructions. Put like half a packet in a bottle instead of an entire packet. But the flavors
totally agree. It's definitely, it's really awesome flavors. The salt content is definitely pretty high. So we're definitely going to make sure to dilute that quite a bit for the racers.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Lauren. You say to eat every half hour. When do you start that? Do you start that at the first half hour?
It depends on your breakfast scenario. So I am the type of person that can eat my full breakfast 1 hour before I hit the start line. And so my stomach is actually pretty full in the first hour of the race. So I actually don't start eating until an hour into the race. And then I'll start my every half hour eating. But there are people I know, a lot of people who, if their race starts at 9, they're getting up at 5 or 6 and they're like, oh, I have to eat 4 hours before my race because of just digestion. Everyone's different. So if you haven't eaten for 4 hours, I would even say do a GU at the start line. You really want to top off that glycogen and then start your eating every half hour right out of the gate within the first half hour. So it depends when your last meal was, when your breakfast was. Yeah.
Great, thanks.
And then the night before, well, for breakfast, don't have anything different than you usually do. You should be practicing your race day breakfast on a regular basis, really. So don't be like, well, typically I have Cheerios and soy milk, but today I'm going to have a breakfast burrito. No, don't do that on race day. And then the night before, this is, a 50K is sort of a medium length race in the gravel world, but for different people it's different things. So I would still say for dinner the night before you want to have a lot of vegetables and a lot of complex carbohydrates like brown rice and quinoa and maybe some whole wheat pasta, and then some protein also, because you want that carbohydrate to stick around in your body and not be metabolized really quickly. So same thing with breakfast. You should be practicing your race day breakfast, but I would say lots of carbohydrates, but also have a little bit of protein with that. Maybe some egg whites, or I always have my grape nut cereal with protein powder as my milk instead of milk. So I've got a whole bunch of protein, and then I've got my carbohydrates from the grape nuts. So that's a good way to come for dinner and for breakfast. Have some whole grain carbs, and then definitely a little bit of protein in there too.
Cool. Super quick. I'm currently recording this video, so anyone else that's, that is racing or curious about all of these things is going to be able to watch it. My Zoom is currently telling me that I only have 7 more minutes and then it's going to log me out for some reason. So I just want you guys to kind of like take a couple minutes each maybe and just say like kind of your last like tips and tricks and what you want the racers to know. And then everyone out there can definitely feel free to email us with any other questions that they have.
Okay, I guess I'll start. Yeah. Yeah, come out ready to have fun. It's a cool event out there at 18 Road. There's primitive camping, so you could just pull over there and camp. There's a lot of areas you could just camp anywhere. There are camping spots. I don't know how many of those are available still, but you can contact us if you're really looking for somewhere and can't find it. And right now we have 30 people registered for the clinic, and with a cap at 50. So if you want to do that, go ahead and get in, and that's for women only. And then the pre-ride is for anybody. And we don't have quite as many people for the pre-ride, but I think that's a great way to just come and hang out, and be part of the event for the weekend.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I would echo that. Come out for the fun. It's going to be super fun. Gemini knows how to throw a party. For people who do a lot of gravel races, there's a lot of gravel races out there that are getting really racy and really serious, aggro. This is not going to be that. It's going to be a chill, fun atmosphere, and I'm so looking forward to it. So as far as tips and tricks, actually just follow my Instagram and Facebook if you want tips and tricks every day. It's Confluence Coach, and my name is associated with it, so you'll be able to find that. But every day I post some types of tips and tricks on nutrition and fitness and sleep. But yeah, just drink and eat every half hour, 1 bottle an hour, and 80 to 100 grams of carbs an hour. Also, I just want to point out, I realize this is video. I am sitting in my Sprinter van. Sorry about that. Sorry, it's not a little more professional, but I don't live in it, but I've been on the road traveling in my Sprinter van for the past 3 months, and I'm heading back to Boulder just today, actually.
No, we love it, Lauren. It's awesome.
Well, remotely, so it's been fun getting out. But yeah, I'm looking forward to being in my house the next day.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much both for getting this information out there to the racers. Yeah, and we're really looking forward to having you out there, Lauren. It's going to be awesome.
I can't wait.
Cool. All right. Well,
Thanks.
I think that's the end.
I know we've got maybe a minute left. Thanks, you guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah.
See you later.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.